So in this video here, we're going to take a look at how we can do hand key point detection with the new YOLO11 model. So basically just going to have a huge data set and train these post-estimation models with the new YOLO11 model on hand key points. So we can, for example, take the thumb. We have different types of key points that we want to detect. So it could be like 4 key points in the thumb, 4 key points in the index finger and so on, middle finger. So we basically just have all these points that we want to do detection of or post estimation of our hand. This can be used for a lot of cool stuff like hand tracking. You can have like hand control and so on with your thumb and your index finger. Could also be hand control and so on. So you've probably seen a ton of different cool use cases and also hand tracking projects out there. So basically just going to dive into it. Let's jump straight into the documentation and see how we can set it up and train our own model. So we're just jump straight into the Ultralytics documentation. If we go inside the Datasets tab up at the top, we can scroll a bit further down. On the post estimation, we have all these different post estimation datasets directly. You can use out of the box, it will download automatically, and also the new YOLO11 models, they support post estimation. So if you go inside hand key points, we can see all the different hand landmarks that we have. So we have all these 20 key points. So it's actually like 21 in total because we have the 0 here for the wrist. So this is very useful. You can go in, basically just take your hand, detect all these key points, use them in projects and applications. So that's pretty awesome. You're going to calculate the distance between, for example, the thumb and the index finger. If you want to do like hand control, you've probably seen some augmented reality, Meta's glasses, Apple Vision Pro and so on. They're using a lot of hand control, and this is pretty much the method and the models that they're using. So we see we have the key points. We see the key features of this data set. So there's 26,000, almost 27,000 images in this dataset here, where all these hand key points have already been annotated. When we're talking about post estimation, it is a very time consuming task to go in and index and label all these individual key points. So we have 21 key points, YOLO11 compatibility, and a large dataset. We can divide them into a training images of almost 19,000 and then have 8,000 images for our validation set. If you scroll a bit further down, we can pretty much just see we have our data YAML file. We can use that directly out of the box. You see documentation, example usage. This is how we can train it. So we're going to open up a Google Colab notebook. We specify the path to our dataset. It's going to download automatically if it's not already available. We can see we have the download script down here at the bottom. If you just want to download directly from your URL here, just open up a new tab, throw it in, and it's going to download to your computer. Then we can see how we can use it. So I'm going to show you this in a Jupyter notebook. And these are some of the sample images and also annotations. So we have tons of different hands, fingers, and so on, where we have these key points annotated. And then we can train a custom model to do detections of specifically these key points. The pre-trained models, they're just doing human post estimation, so shoulder, elbow, wrist, head, and so on. So we get all those key points. But if we want like hand tracking, hand key points as well, we need to fine tune our own model. So that's pretty much it. Let's now just go in and open up a Google Colab notebook. I'm just going to open one from scratch, and we can go in and grab this code example. There we go. We just have the hand key point YAML file, and it's going to download automatically because this is all the datasets over here to the left is available from Ultralytics. So now we're inside a Google Colab notebook. Let's just open a new one and connect to your GPU. We need to pip install Ultralytics as well. So that's the only thing that we need to pip install. All of the stuff is already pre-installed in Google Colab. So right now I'm just going to choose this 800 because I'm on the Pro version, but you should also have free GPU resources with a T4. There we go. We pip install Ultralytics. Make sure that you have the latest version. So if you're training locally, you're running into any errors, it might be because, and most likely because you don't have the newest version of Ultralytics, which supports the new YOLO11 model. There we go. We connect to our runtime with our GPU. We pip install Ultralytics, and then we're just going to train this post model. We choose the nano version, but you can also choose the small, medium, and so on. But we have like 17,000 images in our data set, so it's going to take a long time to train. And first of all here, let's just go for, let's say, 30 epochs. We can always go back and take a look at the results, train it for longer, or basically just let it run after that. But let's just show you how we can train it. The image size, we specify that. If you run into any errors with GPU memory and so on, you can specify the batch size as well. All the arguments are available inside the Ultralytics documentation. There we go. We have pip install Ultralytics. Now we can just set it up. So let me just copy this and throw it down in another block. So we can run this first from Ultralytics. We just import the model. It's going to download automatically the first time we run it, and that should pretty much be it. Then we create an instance of our model and can just call this train command on top of it directly. If you want to run the command line, you can also just use it directly here. I'm copying it. And then we can have like explanation mark, and this is how we can run the commands in a Google Colab notebook. So this is the exact same command. We can change the number of epochs. It doesn't matter which of the ones that you're using. So I'm just going to delete this, or maybe just let it be here so you guys can take a look at it if you want to use that instead. Now we're good to go. Let's now just hit model train. It's going to take care of the data set. So downloading hand keypoint zip into our content directory. So if we go over to the left, we both have our run folder where all the results, the model weights will be saved, and also we have our data set. So we have our hand key points, train validation set, and also our data YAML file, which we saw from the Ultralytics documentation. It has also downloaded the model. Let's now close it and see if it has started the training. So first of all, it's just setting up the data set, setting up the model. It's going to go through the optimizer, set all of that up and so on, and then it's going to start the training. It might take some time because we have 17,000 images in our dataset as well. So now we can see that it has loaded the whole dataset. It has started the first epoch, so epoch 1 out of 30. We get all the losses, we get our post loss, and also basically the number of instances that we're detecting in our frames. Then we also have 87 out of 1,143. This is basically the batches. So if you, for example, like have a batch size of 8, it's going to take 8 images, throw it through the model, do the optimization, and then it's going to do that for a whole data set for 1,100 iterations for a single epoch. It's then going to do that 30 times, so this is going to take a long time to train. Here it estimates around 2 minutes, and then we have 30 epochs, so that will be around 1 hour for training this model. So a custom YOLO11 model for key point detection on hand is now done training. We can take a look at all the results here. We end up with a pretty good mean error precision and all of that, so that's very awesome. If you just go all the way up to the top here, we just trained it for 15 epochs. We pretty much start out with a 0.73 mean error precision, and then it's basically just increasing over time while our losses are decreasing as well. It took almost like an hour to train this model here. It's just running the validation. If we go over into the left side, we have our runs directory, we have our post and train for. Here all the information will be available. You can download the weights, so you can just right click, download the best weights, use it in your own applications and projects. If we scroll a bit further up, we can then see we have the final validation, precision recall, very good results, mean error precisions pretty much on point, and also the other one here. So this is a very good model that should be very good at doing these hand key point detections. If you just take a look at the results.png, you can also see all the other curves, but this one here is pretty cool. Hasn't fully converged yet, but we have some very awesome results already. Losses here starting to act like converge, so this looks pretty good in general. If we take a look at some validation badges, this is basically images that it has never seen before the model, and see how it actually does at doing these key points. So here we can pretty much see it does a very good job at detecting the key points, so the wrist, the thumb, the index finger, pretty much all the fingers. It is spot on, but the validation results also shows that. We can also take a look at one of the other ones. Again, if you want to download the model, you can just right click it, download, use it in your own applications and projects. We see it has some problems here in these very complex scenarios, but again, it really depends on your data set, the fingers, and what you want to try to do. But you couldn't train the model for longer. It will get better precision, better accuracy and so on, but also some of the larger ones. So this is still only the nano version that we're training it on. So this is some pretty cool use cases that we're going to use this model for. You can do hand tracking, gesture control, all of that. So this is how easy it is to set up. We have the dataset available. We have the new YOLO11 models. They're very good. You can use them in your own applications and projects. Definitely check out the other videos that we have on the channel, and then I'll just see you guys in one of the upcoming videos. Until then, happy training.